Hey, hope you're all doing well. Welcome to episode 2 of nexgen. I'm really excited to have you all here. This is a particularly interesting episode for me because it involves something that I definitely did not see coming. I found out about this a couple of months ago. I've been kind of looking at it, kind of keeping up with it. We haven't had a lot of updates since it first came out, but this is definitely something that has intrigued me. So, a little bit of backstory on all of this. So this is something that involves Bose. Chances are you know what Bose is. They're basically the company that helped sort of pioneer noise canceling technology in headphones for the average consumer. So initially, noise canceling was a technology that was mostly exclusive to aircraft pilots to reduce the noise in the cabin. But nowadays, pretty much anyone has access to noise canceling in headphones. It's practically a standard. And Bose was a huge player in getting this technology to the masses. I think one of the most popular headphones that they ever came out with was the QuietComfort 35 and 35 twos. These QuietComfort is basically one of the sort of standards that everyone looks at because it was Bose's line of noise canceling headphones. And it has sort of a name and a reputation attached to it. The only issue though was that after the 35 twos came out, Bose kind of started to slow down. They were a leader in the space, and so they seemed to kind of take things a little bit slower since then. And at the time, that pretty much allowed their biggest competitor to catch up with them. So Sony at the time was developing their own lineup of noise canceling headphones, their 1000X series. And sometime after the 35 twos came out, Sony came out with probably one of their, in my opinion, I think it's definitely one of their most recognized headphones. It's their 1000 XM3s. These were definitely a very popular set of headphones at the time, and in a lot of ways, they overtook the 35 twos. They were still comfortable while also having a lot more modern features such as touch controls and USB-C, as well as more battery life. At the time, a lot of people considered the noise canceling even to be better than what was on the Bose headphones. And so when this happened, Bose pretty much had to respond with their own set of modernized headphones, and that led them to come out with what became known as the NC700 headphones. Compared to the 35 twos from back in the day, these were a much more modern looking and feeling set of headphones instead of the normal collapsible, foldable plastic design of the originals. These were much more sleeker, more modern, and had more metal and silicone integrated to the design, and also incorporated a few of the elements from the XM3s at the time, such as USB-C and touch controls. That being said, a lot of people still tend to prefer the Sonys because when Bose switched to this new type of headphone, a lot of people felt like it wasn't really meant to be an upgrade of the QuietComforts because it took a step back in so many new areas. Some people found them to be more comfortable, but for the most part, a lot of people found them to be way less comfortable. As someone who's owned them in the past, I can definitely attest to the comfort side of it. But overall, a lot of people just didn't really feel like it was a true upgrade. And then things eventually got worse for Bose when Sony came out with the XM4s, which were not only better, but came out with even more modernized features like automatic adjustment of noise canceling, the auto pause, autoplay sensor, and the other features like speak to chat. These were things that were not commonly seen on headphones in the past, and especially not on Bose headphones. So this was very much a bit more of an innovative feeling set of headphones by comparison. So since then, Bose eventually came out with the QuietComfort earbuds, and in my opinion, this seemed kind of a way for Bose to sort of diverge from what they had normally done. They couldn't catch up as much with the NC700s, so they turned their attention toward the earbud market, which at the time was starting to develop a lot more because more and more companies were focusing on putting noise canceling into their earbuds. Sony at the time was doing it as well, but this was an opportunity for Bose to step in and sort of take a shot at it themselves. So they came out with the QuietComfort earbuds, essentially not only adding new noise canceling technology, but also bringing back the QuietComfort name that they left behind with the NC700s. And interestingly enough, these were originally going to be the NC700 earbuds, kind of a more compact alternative to their headphones. And why they did this, I'll get into more later on. But eventually, this led them to a couple years later come out with the QuietComfort earbuds 2s. This all ties in with them essentially trying to make a comeback with the earbud market, because when they came out with these new earbuds, they were going to have the world's best noise canceling technology, not just on earbuds in general, but in terms of just noise canceling headphones, both in the ears and over ears. And for a lot of people, this actually was the case. They really felt like Bose had really taken a step forward with noise canceling technology in their earbuds. And this essentially basically it was a way for Bose to make a comeback in this market. It's not now that they've pretty much built up a firm reputation in the earbud space. It seems like now they're actually going to step back into the headphone market. And we did see a couple years ago, they did come out with an updated set of the original QuietComforts, the QuietComfort 45s, but these weren't really intended to be a full upgrade over the NC700s. There are some things that it does better, and for a lot of people, this is a definite upgrade over the 35.2s from back in the day, but it's pretty much reflected in both the set of features and also its pricing, that it's not intended to be a full-on replacement. And that's where the topic of today's episode comes into play. So a couple months ago, I was curious about whether Bose could be coming out with a new set of headphones in the future, since we hadn't had anything new since the QuietComfort 45s. In the past, I had done this, and that's how I found out about the 45s in the first place. So I did it again a couple months ago, and I found out that Bose is actually coming out with a new set of headphones, but not just any set of headphones, but this is actually going to be a full-on true upgrade. So these are going to be the QuietComfort Ultras. And just looking at the leaked image, this is definitely it's a very interesting set for Bose, because they look very much different from the NC700s. Like, you can definitely see elements of them in these headphones, but it really seems like they're trying to go back to the classic QuietComfort design of just that traditional classic set of headphones. Nothing really crazy about it. The NC700s definitely drew a lot of attention from their it was a very interesting design for a lot of people. It was very divisive. You either had the people who loved it, and you had the people who absolutely hated it. And I could see why either side. I'm personally a fan of the way that the NC700s look, but I could see both sides of the argument. I can see why people love it, and I can see why people don't like it as much. But what I find interesting about the Ultras is that these kind of incorporate the best of the QuietComforts and the best of the NC700s. So they kind of have, for the most part, that more traditional headphone design. We have the headband, you have the arms with the yoke on either side of the ear cups. The NC700s had this one sort of continuous metal strip that basically connected the ear cups on the outside. It basically ran right through the middle. These had that sort of classic yoke design where it kind of comes down and then spreads out over either side. But it's interesting because the ear cups themselves have kind of that scooped look and the microphone placement of the NC700s, as well as the metal arms. And similar to headphones that we've been getting ever since the AirPod Maxes, like we've had the AirPod Maxes, we've had the Sony XM5 since then do this, but it has that ear cup design or the headband design where the arms of the headphones have more of a smoother sliding mechanism. So in the past, we've had a lot of headphones that basically use a ratcheting system. So basically you slide it, you get the little clicks every time you pull the headphones out or pull them in. But with these have more of a smoother, free adjusting system in place. I imagine it would probably be very similar to the NC700s in the way that they adjusted, but definitely looks more like a set of Sony XM5s by comparison. So from what we can tell from the controls of the headphones, it's looking to be kind of taking the route of Sony a bit more. So the NC700s had touch controls, but it was basically the front half of the right ear cup. But from what we're seeing with the QuietComfort Ultras, because they don't have the headband going straight through down the center, it looks like we could end up getting full ear cup touch controls. There's not really a lot of information right now, so there's no like confirmation or anything like that. Definitely take all this with a grain of salt as I'm saying this, but definitely looks like we could get full cup controls on either side of the ear cup. And similar to the NC700s, we also have a couple of buttons on the back, which could be used for things like powering on and off, pairing, controlling noise canceling, and things like that. So for what looks to be under the left ear cup, we got a USB-C port. So yay, Bose is keeping USB-C. But one other change that they seem to be making to the QuietComforts is that they're keeping the 2.5 millimeter jack under the left ear cup. So usually a lot of wireless headphones will have a 3.5 millimeter jack that you can, it comes with the cable, you plug it into the headphones and you plug it into your computer. So it's 3.5 millimeters on both sides. But one of the things that people didn't really like about the NC700s was that it had a 2.5 millimeter cable on one end and then plugged into a 3.5 millimeter jack to your computer. And one of the reasons people don't really like this as much is because it's harder to find third-party cables in case the one that your set of headphones comes with ends up breaking. Because 3.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeter is more of a standard than 2.5 to 3.5. That's not confirmed, but from what I'm seeing from these pictures, the jack definitely looks smaller than what I would expect from a normal set of headphones. So I wouldn't be surprised if this actually ended up being 2.5 millimeters. So considering this is going to be Bose's sort of high-end set of headphones, I'm very interested to see some of the other things that come into play, because from what I've told you so far, that's kind of everything I've told you pretty much so far pretty much comes from the leaked images that we saw, and everything else is pretty much just speculation at this point. But in terms of other factors, such as sound quality, again, we don't really know anything about this. I would imagine that Bose would use this as an opportunity to up the sound quality of their current headphones. I think better noise canceling is kind of a given at this point, considering Bose's reputation as a noise canceling headphone company, considering that every set of noise canceling headphones tries to make their noise canceling just that little bit better. In terms of comfort, I'm definitely hoping that they choose to keep the route of the original QuietComforts. So when the NC700s came out, as someone who owned a set of them, I can say that they definitely were not as comfortable as a set of typical QuietComforts. Me personally, I could only wear them for about like an hour or so at a time. And whenever I put those on versus a set of QuietComforts, I definitely notice very much of a difference between the two. The main difference being, one, the headband just barely touches the top of your head, and two, the ear cups feel way deeper than the NC700s. And I mention all this because the QuietComfort Ultras are going to have a completely different design from either the typical QuietComforts or the NC700s. And so from the pictures that we're seeing, it almost looks like the ear cups could end up being a bit shallower than what we see on the original QuietComforts. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case. I'm hoping that Bose is going to work in more of those actual comfort elements that we usually get on the standard models. It's one of the reasons why I appreciate the fact that Bose didn't really change much on the QuietComfort 45s. They kept a lot of the classic comfort that we've come to expect from the lineup. In terms of price, I wouldn't be surprised if Bose also used this as an opportunity to up the price of their current models. As it goes right now, the NC700s go for about $379, but I wouldn't be surprised if these got brought up to $399, or since we have the AirPod Maxes, if they went with something like $449. But of course, all this just kind of brings up one particular question. Why is Bose going back to QuietComfort? Why did the NC700 name fail for them? So why are they going back to this, the classic naming? And something that I think that we can all kind of take away from this is that branding has a much it's a lot more important than I think we tend to think about. So whenever it basically names are every time you have a name for something like a product or a company or whatever, a name is so much more than just a name. It's kind of like an icon. Something comes to mind when you see that. So think about something like the AirPods Max, for example. When you hear AirPods, what do you think? Chances are you think of wireless headphones from Apple. The thing is, AirPods have built up this reputation over the years with the first set back in 2017. We had the AirPod 2s, the AirPod 3s, the Pros, the Pro 2s, and we have the Maxes. I remember the Maxes first came out, and there were a lot of people who were upset about the name. People saw them as they were called AirPods. People were upset because they thought these aren't pods, they're headphones. Like AirPods and AirPod Pros are pods, these are not pods. So why are you calling them AirPods? It's because AirPods have a reputation. When you think AirPods, you think of Apple's wireless lineup. If Apple called them something different, if they called them earphones, it would feel a little bit disjointed because yes, you have the AirPods to their earbuds, but by calling them AirPods Max, the whole lineup feels more cohesive. You know what to expect from the name AirPods. Like you see the name QuietComfort, you expect the headphones that have good noise canceling. They create a very quiet atmosphere, and you think of comfort. You think of a set of headphones that you can really rely on if you just want something that you can wear for hours on end. So when the NC700s came out, that was just kind of a new name. People weren't really sure what to expect from them. And they were pretty much building their own separate reputation. The QuietComfort lineup had already had its own recognizable reputation. And when Bose came with the NC700s, they sort of left this behind. So my point in all this is that whenever a product has a certain name or there's a certain lineup with a name attached to it, with that name comes a reputation. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. This was a little look at the QuietComfort Ultras. I hope you're just excited for them as I am. And I hope you enjoyed listening to this episode. And if you did, please feel free to follow the show. Always excited to have new listeners. And until next time, I'll see you guys later.